Hi, I'm Morgan, and today I'm excited to share my thoughts on the Count of Monte Cristo movie from 2024. And first of all, this video will contain spoilers for both the movie, the 2002 movie, and the book. So I watched this movie with my significant other, and as far as I'm aware, it is currently available on Blu-ray and Hoopla in my country, so it was not the most convenient movie to get a hold of to watch. But my significant other and I both like Dumas's works. And I read the book in, I think it was 2016, so it has been a long time now since I read it, so some of my memory of the book is a little bit fuzzy, and we watched the 2002 version of the movie a few years ago. And I would say right off the bat, the 2024 adaptation is fairly faithful to the book within the time constraints, because the book is very, very long, and the movie is not like 1,000 pages worth of story long. It's definitely a little bit condensed, and there were definitely some major plot changes, and I do notice there were some things that it's like, okay, I would have liked to see more of this character or that character. Like Luigi Vampa is, I think he is shown in the movie, but we don't really get to see a lot of his backstory, and he's definitely not as present in the movie as he is in the book, for instance. And I like how this version, the 2024 version, definitely feels to be more of a revenge story, essentially a revenge story. It definitely focuses more on that. And I remember I really didn't like the 2002 version of the movie because it felt, how do I put this? It felt like very Americanized, Hollywoodized, like, oh, let's make this into a pretty love story. And it didn't really feel like it captured the essence of Monte Cristo as much to me. So I didn't really like the 2002 version, and I think that the 2024 version is much more faithful. But there were definitely changes, there were changes. One thing that I liked about the 2024 version is, how do I put this, Villefort? Like, we get to see more of Villefort and his mistress, who are characters that I didn't really pay much attention to in the book itself. And like, there was this dinner party scene where the mistress, who I think actually married, didn't she marry Danglars? Like, I think she marries Danglars, but I didn't really pay much attention to that subplot within the book, because in the book there's just so much going on, and it's like there are all these characters who you're learning about in the second act. That's one thing I want to talk about. The book's pacing, I didn't like the pacing of the book, because the first part of the book's pacing is really good, but then it just takes you time skip ahead to Italy, and then it takes you back to France, and it's just, there are so many characters to keep track of that the book is really confusing. And I like how the movie, it's definitely slimmed down. We don't get to see as much of all the characters, and there were some that I think were outright cut. Like, I don't think Valentine's in this one at all, like Valentine, but we do see, like, the characters who we do see, we get to see more of their plots, like Villefort's his mistress and it's like, I don't think I really paid much attention to the whole plot of, like, whatever the heck happened to their kid or whatever in the book, but that's like actually a major thing within the movie. So I thought that was interesting, because like that was something that I basically completely had forgotten about, and was like having to Wikipedia partway through the movie, like, what actually happened in the book, because I don't remember this plot, like, subplot very much. So I liked that, because it was like having me look at parts of the story that I had basically completely forgotten about or didn't understand the first time. And I loved the expressions, just like the acting. The acting in this movie was so good, so subtle, and I loved how the actors, like, how do I put this? They weren't just like stereotypical, let's choose the prettiest, hottest actor imaginable for each role. Like, we have differences in features, we have differences, like, just a lot of differences between the characters, so it's easy to tell who's who apart from each other, which is great. Very great. Just very distinctively different people playing the different roles. So I love that. I feel like sometimes with American productions of things, like, really pretty, really conventionally pretty actors and actresses will be chosen. And so I liked how there's just a more diverse range of beauty in this particular adaptation. So I really love that. And I loved this, like, my significant other, I remember, like, really loved some of the cinematography, like, just, like one of the shots was just, like, you start from, like, a carriage and then you're zooming in to seeing someone overlooking a balcony, or, like, on a balcony at some estate, like, looking out. And it's just, like, the cinematography is very creative and very beautiful and well done. And I loved the choice to record so much of this just in authentic, real locations. I think that was beautiful. Like, the architecture, it's so beautiful. It's very beautiful, and it feels, when I put this, I loved the way that the colors were. I don't know how to describe this because I'm not very good at color theory stuff, but I love the way the colors were. Like, I remember another movie we watched recently was, I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it had Eva Green, and it was about the Crusades. That one had, I think, France, like, in the, like, middle ages area time frame, but it was so dark and blue, and it had a lot of blueness to this. But this movie, like, just the colors so bright, and I love the way that they use the costumes to signify a passage of time. Like, we have the Regency silhouettes at the beginning of the movie, but by the time that Dante is out of the jail, the women are wearing the later fashions, like the 1830s type fashions with the bigger skirts. And I love, too, their choice to just, like, they make time passage, like, visible through, when he's in the jail, we see holes in his shirt, we see holes and wear and tear on the fabric, and we see long nails, and we see the hair, like, it's, like, how do I put this, when you have ends to your hair that are just, like, there's something disheveled about it, like, hey, you're not using shampoo all the time, and you probably haven't ever trimmed it in ages, and so you have, like, the thinner at the ends compared to the top, and it feels very authentic and lived in. Like, I love the costuming for the way that the Abbe and Dante were in jail. And I think we listened to it in French with subtitles, so it was really unique getting to hear the characters' names, how they're actually supposed to be pronounced, because like, I remember when I read it, like, my dad was reading parts of it aloud to me. It was like me and him were reading it, and but neither of us are good at guessing how you're actually supposed to pronounce names based off of how they're written. And so we definitely, like, would say some of the characters' names different than how they're actually supposed to be pronounced, apparently. So, like, seeing this version of the movie and hearing it in French all these years later, it's like, wow, that's how you're actually supposed to say that person's name. Oh. So yeah, that was kind of a cool experience. So I really loved, like, hearing it in the native tongue, essentially the language that the book itself was written in, because the book was originally French. I've only read the English translation because I speak English, but it was cool just hearing just, like, how it was, I think, more so originally intended, because the author wrote in that language. So I thought that was really beautiful and really cool. So I really, really love that. Oh my gosh, another thing that I really, really, really love is the choice to include Eugenie. I love the choice to include Eugenie because, like, her subplot in the book isn't, like, she's not really a major character in the book, but she's someone who, like, I remember, like, I really loved her in the book because it's like, wait, is she... Okay, the thing is, I'm not actually sure in the book if Eugenie is lesbian or if she's a trans man, because if I remember right, in the book when she runs away, she's, like, dressed as a man, and someone finds her sleeping in bed with like, you know, her music friend. So in the book, it's not entirely clear to me if Eugenie is actually a lesbian or if she is a trans man. But either way, she's LGBTQIA+. So I loved the inclusion of Eugenie in this particular movie because they are not shying away at all from the fact that she is into women. Like, they show that, hey, she's into her music friend. I cannot remember the character's name. Is it Louise or Louisa? It's something with an L, I think. But she is into that friend. It is clear they do not shy away from it. And I love that. I love just, like, yes, we finally get to see like an authentic representation of Eugenie. Like, yes. Like, yes. It's like when okay, that sounds so so cheesy / cringe when I say that. But it makes me happy because she is casual representation, which is something we just don't. Okay, maybe it's because a lot of the times, like, when I'm reading old works, like, it's in English, I'm usually reading English authors, but some of the older works don't really have, like, openly LGBTQIA plus characters, and so I love how, like, the Count of Monte Cristo, like, Eugenie is explicitly LGBTQIA plus. Like, to me, it's not entirely clear if she's a trans man or if she's a lesbian. Like, it could be either or. I think both interpretations can be valid, at least based off of the English version that I read. But I love Eugenie. Like, Eugenie's one of my favorites. Eugenie's like one of my favorites. I love Eugenie. And so I love how they did not shy away from representing her as being into women in the movie. Like, that's like probably one of my favorite things about the 2024 adaptation. And okay, there are other things I love too. Like how Mercedes and the Count of Monte Cristo's relationship is definitely very tense. Like, how do I put this? Like, this very strong, like, this tension of, like, not romantic tension, but just tension between those characters, I think was really well done in this adaptation. I love how, like, they don't try and force a romance between characters, so it's, like, how do I put this? They definitely were not rekindling a romance in the book. But one other thing that they changed that I didn't like is the Greek princess. They definitely changed her ending. Like, they changed her ending because I think in the book, I'm pretty sure it's implied that she marries Monte Cristo after the end of the book. Like, it's implied that they're gonna get together. So I don't necessarily know about having her get together with a different character instead. Like, I think on one hand, I actually think it works because it's, like, showing this symbolization of, like, healing, of moving on from revenge, like, healing and doing something new. Like, I like her ending up with the other character. I can't remember who it is because, yeah, what is his name? It's the son of Ferdinand and Mercedes. Is it Albert, or is Albert the other guy? Either way, her ending up with Mercedes' son, like, that's sweet because it felt like it was still continuing within the themes. Like, okay, at the end of the book, actually, it is, what's his name? Danglars. Danglars is the last one that, Monte Cristo takes revenge on, that Dantes takes revenge on. It's his shipmate, it's Danglars. But if I remember right from the book, it's like he gets kidnapped by Luigi Vampo or something. I can't quite remember, but I know that he ends up, like, being imprisoned by the Italian mafia or something. And, like, he's suffering and, like, he's lost all his money and he's gone gray. And Edmond Dantes is like, you know what? I'm gonna spare you. I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna spare you. Like, after all this suffering, you've lost all the things that you had in the world, I'm gonna spare your life. Like, that's how it ended in the book, if I remember correctly. It's like, he spares Danglars, and then he goes off to marry, Haiti or something? I think it's Haiti. The Greek girl, the Greek princess. So that's how it ends in the book. So I guess I do kind of like, him letting Haiti and the other, like, Fernand's, whatever his name is, their kid, like, run off and live happily ever after, because it does kind of have that, like, okay, we're gonna have a starting a new happily ever after type ending, but still bittersweet at the same time. So I kind of am okay with it, even though it is a major deviation from the book. I would say it's a major deviation from the book, but it still feels overall like it's conveying the overarching themes and, like, the sort of character development that we've had so far. So I was okay with that. And I do think Haiti was more of a major character in the movie than she was in the play. And I think I also gender swapped one of the Villeforts. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that character might have been gender swapped. But it worked. Like, I don't think it was necessarily a bad change. Like, I think it was one where it made the plot flow better. And I think for a book as long as The Count of Monte Cristo, you gotta condense, you gotta chop some things, you gotta rework some things. And so even though that was done, I felt like it was in a way that was still within the themes of the story, still conveying the same message. And so I am okay with it overall. I would say the cinematography is excellent, the acting's amazing, the costume design's amazing. I would say the writing is good. Like, it's good. I think they had a very, 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 like, hard, how do I say this, a hard, a challenging, a struggling sort of project. Like, you have to adapt something that's, like, really big. Like, I'm trying to remember where I have that book. Is it down here? This. Okay, here's the book. Like, this is a huge honking book. That's got, like, my particular copy of it has over 1,000 pages. Let me see how many pages exactly it is. Okay, sorry, I'm just double checking this real quickly, but to take something that is like, okay, yeah, I think this is the last page. 1,065 pages and turn that into a movie, that is frickin' hard. The writers did an excellent job of that. Truly excellent job. Because this is a giant book. It's a giant book with a whole heck of a lot of things that you have to, like, interwove and wrap up. And to convey the gist of that, even though it's like you obviously had to cut some things, but to convey the gist of that in the movie, the time frame, like, that is a feat. That is a frickin' feat. So I'd say whoever the authors were, like, chef's kiss to you, like, clap, 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 clap. That is hard. That is hard. So in retrospect, the people who are doing the writing, the adaptation, like, hats off to you. Hats off to you. So yeah, I'd say I really like the 2024 adaptation. I would recommend it. I would say maybe read the book first, but the book is very lofty. So yeah, I would say it's definitely, out of the two adaptations that I've seen, it is the best adaptation, hands down. I think it's the most faithful to the themes of the book. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to me, like, just give my thoughts on the 2024 adaptation of The Count of Monte Cristo, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye!